Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for joining in. And a warm welcome to Suella, who's joining us by phone. And welcome to everyone out there and to those joining in live right now. So you may notice I started the meeting by calling you a divine creation, a divine marvel, a child of God. What does that mean? Well, what it means to me, those are the exact words of Bruno Gröning, and what it means to me is that human beings are truly a wondrous creation. We are, we are not, it's hard to remember sometimes that we actually came from God, from the divine. That's our source. That is what made us. It's written in the Bible that we were created as an extension of God's will. It's through God's will. God had a will, an intention, and then we were created. Bruno Gröning put it like this, that, that we human beings are a creation of love. Think about that. That we were created with love, by love, through love. As we look around the world today, it can be hard to remember that human beings are a sacred, beautiful creation. How is it possible that the world is such a mess then, if we are a sacred, divine creation? Well, Bruno Gröning gave a very simple, straightforward explanation that human beings that we are a soul. We don't have a soul. We are a soul. And one of the characteristics of the soul is that it's like a radio antenna. It has a capacity to receive. And that depending on what we receive, what we take in, determines the quality of our thoughts and the quality of the kind of thoughts. If on a simple level, if we're taking in good thoughts or bad thoughts, and that determines how we behave. So any time that any of us or any person on this planet is behaving or acting unwell in harmful ways, all it means is that they've taken on some evil thoughts or some evil energy. They've taken in some negativity, and that negativity is now expressing itself. The way to solve and that any problem we have in our lives is nothing more than a symptom of having taken in some untrue thoughts and some negative energy. So the solution to all of our problems as individuals and as a race is nothing more than to free ourselves from these untrue thoughts and this negative energy. But Bruno Gröning pointed out that we're not able to do that on our own, that we need divine assistance, that this negative force is actually very strong. And to overcome it, we need the one thing in the universe that is stronger than this negative force. Bruno Gröning used different words to describe this one thing that's stronger than all of our problems. He called it the good. He called it the universal. He called it the divine, the great, goodness itself, life itself, love, harmony. These are all different words that he used to describe God, the supreme mystery, that which is above everything. Above meaning mightier than, and yet created everything, and yet is all around us and lives within us. Without that, without the power of God, we cannot free ourselves from evil. That, friends, is why we need the divine. So Bruno Gröning shared an ancient, yet simple way of taking in the divine energy that frees us. He called it tuning in. The German word is Einstellen, which means to tune in, to attune, to take in. It's very simple to do. Please sit or stand with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, back in a relaxed position, if possible, not leaning against your chair. And close your eyes. That's the physical preparation. Now, inwardly, hand over all burdens, all problems, all fear, and also any illnesses. Hand them over to your understanding of this, of the supreme power, or to a spiritual helper who you really trust. Give them the burdens, the problems. Bruno said, illness does not belong to us. So let's give it away. But bring your entire attention to healing, that there is an infinite, limitless power that can heal all things. And then ask to receive that energy. Have the will, the intention to receive it, and observe your body, noticing what you feel. Have the will, the intention to take this energy in, recognizing that every sensation is now a step towards your healing, that your body, with the help of this divine energy, is beginning to reorganize and heal. Spend a few minutes in silence, taking in this energy. Observing your body, if your mind is having trouble focusing, you can follow your breath. You can say a short prayer or mantra over and over to still the mind. Taking this energy in with faith, trust, openness that nothing is incurable. There is no such thing as incurable. So I'm going to speak a little bit, and I invite people to continue practicing this tuning in while I speak. continuing to take in this energy. So one of the reasons I've entitled this talk, Why We Need God. One of the reasons I've already pointed out that here in here in our life, in a body here on earth, to overcome this negative force which is so strong, we're not able to do it on our own. This requires humility. Bruno Gröning, who was one of the greatest healers to ever walk on this earth, in his presence, cancer would vanish, blind people would regain their vision. He was truly the most Christ-like being I've ever heard of. Bruno Gröning would say things like, I am nothing, God is everything. He was completely humble and taught the path of humility, this recognition that we all, without God, are nothing. He said, what are we without God? I say with conviction, nothing. Here in the 21st century with our technology, it's easy for it's easy for human beings to feel that we don't need God and also that we don't need nature. Thanks to technology, I can just walk to the grocery store where food has been driven from sometimes all around the world and then kept cold in a refrigerator, and I can just go buy some food and think, I don't need nature, because Bruno Gröning pointed out that as human beings, we're intimately reliant on nature, but we've forgotten this. He went so far as to say that nature is God. So throughout the course of history, we've moved further and further away from nature and away from God. And we can see the results of that looking in the world. I'm not here to say, it's not my job to say that every piece of technology is bad or evil, but to share Bruno Gröning's teaching, it is my job to point out the extent to which we moved away from and devalued nature and devalued having an ongoing connection with God. Bruno Gröning also spoke of our need for divine protection. Why? Why do we need divine protection? Well, as I've already shared, he pointed out that here on this earth, there's this negative force afoot. And if we don't stay connected to God, we're going to connect to that evil force, and it will take us on a nasty, unfun journey. And we can see that it's taking the human race as a whole on a nasty, unfun journey. And if we reflect on our own lives, most of us will see that, well, I've certainly seen that these negative thoughts, all these thoughts I've taken in without reflecting, have led me down a dark path. In my case, it led me to the point of almost committing suicide. It led me to the point of having homicidal anger. I never actually planned to go kill someone, but that's suicide and homicide. That's about as dark and dense as it gets, and yet they're common occurrences on this planet today. So the good news is that Bruno Gröning pointed out that inside each one of us is something pure that cannot and will not be tainted by evil. Sometimes he spoke of it as spirit, sometimes he spoke of it as soul. Sometimes divine spark. But that soul, this soul can be taken on quite an unfun journey. while the soul itself remains pure. As Bruno said, the human being is and remains divine. But when the soul associates with evil, he said it's forced to serve evil. It's forced to act in evil, harmful ways that harm not only the other people, but ultimately so painful for the person doing the harm. So that's why we need divine protection. We need ongoing connection, communion, being joined with God so that we can, first of all, free ourselves from all the evil and all the negativity we've taken on in the past, but also to keep out further evil from coming in. So let's take a little time and reflect on all this. Continuing to observe the body, really, really asking your spiritual helpers, such as Bruno, or asking God, please, I want to be freed from all evil, and I want to walk the good path. But to say that prayer, we have to be willing to change ourselves and our lives, how we live. We have to be willing to seek the divine and follow the divine, to be led, really. Taking in the divine energy, having the will to receive it, and the willingness to be guided by God. Continuing to observe the body, having the will to receive this divine energy. So I don't have the exact quote handy, but Bruno Gröning said, I'm paraphrasing here, he who is in service to God will be supported by God. And not just supported, protected. So the thing is what's the meaning of our life? What are we here? What are we here to do? Each of us is here with a very specific purpose, and each of us also, every person also has the same purpose, to draw closer to God and to be in service to this beautiful creation. We all have the same, here on earth, we all have the same Father, God, and Mother, Earth. We're all family. Everyone here on this earth is spiritually our brothers and sisters. We're here to actually learn how to serve, how to take care of each other. And I would argue that all of creation is actually our relative, and we're here to draw closer to God, to learn how to follow God. And what are we going to do as we learn to follow God? We're going to grow spiritually, and we're going to joyfully learn how to serve and contribute. You find the principle of service in almost every world religion. Every major wisdom tradition speaks of how important it is to contribute. Bruno Gröning takes it another step and says that if you're in service to God, you will be supported by God. That not only is it a healthy thing to do, but it's actually that you'll be taken care of if you do this thing, if you serve. And that doesn't mean everyone needs to get a YouTube channel or become a preacher. We've been given such a limited definition of what it means, what God means, and what it means to serve God. My understanding, it means to serve means to contribute, to nourish, to tend to life. It's very interesting that if we shift, a huge part of my spiritual journey has been shifting my emphasis away from getting to giving. Now, Bruno Gröning was adamant that we need to take care of our bodies and free ourselves from evil. So that's a very important thing. In fact, he said you need to be kind of egocentric at first until you get your health back. But that doesn't mean we still can't find ways to contribute. And it's so important, so life-changing, to change our attitude from how much can I get to how much can I give. And I can't say that I've mastered this. Some days I'm more focused on giving, and some days I'm more like trying to get a human being grown. And I have to say, though, when I dedicate myself to giving, life becomes so rich, and the opportunities just show up. Sometimes it's simple. Sometimes it's a smile to a stranger. Sometimes it's just giving directions. If someone looks lost, sometimes it's just asking someone if they're okay. The important thing is that we seek to be guided. And the opportunities will present themselves. So let's take another moment, a couple minutes, and really take in this energy. Really ask to be freed from evil, but ask to be freed from all problems so that we can be of service, so we can contribute and participate in life. Serving the body. Taking in the good. Noticing what you feel. very sacred prayer. It's called the St. Francis prayer. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. We could say, please, God, heal me so that I can be more helpful. God, help me, please, so I can help. So, one of the key things on this path is maintaining faith. When I first found this path, I within a few month periods, I had started to have a lot of healing. I was also doing a lot of tuning in. I didn't know it at the time, but Bruno Green said to overcome evil, it takes a lot, truly a lot of divine power. So it's not, if you have a serious illness or serious, if you have a lot of burdens, first of all, give the burdens away. And, tuning in 5, 10 minutes a day may not be enough. It can be. A healing can happen in an instant. And if you give it away and it doesn't happen in an instant, I invite you to tune in as much as you can for hours. I mean, of course, you start with a little bit and build up, but until you get your health back, Bruno said it takes a lot of power. So I had many, many things heal within a 9 month period. In fact, when I first found this teaching, I had many, I have to count, it's 6, 7, 8 major, major illnesses. I was on 4 medications. Um, and everything healed within a 9 month period, except one thing. And that next thing took almost, now that I think about it, let's see, I think it took me almost 6 years to heal that final thing. Of course, but, and so the thing is, to maintain faith, it's not always easy. And it was frustrating. I was like, well, all these, you know, the knees healed, the prostrate healed, the PTSD healed, the heart healed, the throat healed, the chronic sore throats healed, the tension healed, the fatigue healed, the bipolar healed. That's 9. The eyes healed. Oh my gosh, I had 10 major things when I was like, and I got off medication number 1, I got off medication number 2, I got off medication number 3. But why can I not get off medication number 4? I don't know why. And it took me, I'll have to check the exact dates. I'm thinking it took 5 years to get off that final medication. I don't know why, but it was hard. It was hard to keep the faith that, oh yes, this will heal too. But I believed just enough. And I just kept working at it. And that 5th medication was for sleep. Basically, I had trouble sleeping without it. I'd become dependent on it. But I just kept at it. And finally, that was lifted too. And you know, when we lose faith, that's a time to read something that Bruno Bruni wrote, to look at a picture of Bruno Bruni, to ask a friend, ask Bruno Bruni for faith. He said, "If you cannot yet believe, I will believe for you." And that last one that took so long, part of the reason why it took so long is my faith. I had lost faith. I was severely challenged. And how I started to get my faith back is every day I would just look at a picture of Bruno Bruni and I would feel something. I feel something that I couldn't argue with. It was undeniably true. And I couldn't deny that the other healings had happened. I started to get my faith back, and that one happened. So, I'm going to begin wrapping up. I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. We looked at today, why we need God, and primarily it's because we're up against this strong negative force. Bruno Bruni called it Satan. He said, Satan is mighty, God is almighty. Meaning we need the almighty force to overcome the mighty force. We cannot do it on our own. And even if we didn't have evil to contend with, Bruno Bruni pointed out that it's just part of who we are. We're designed to be in connection and communion. I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. A warm welcome to Sue Ella. This was her first group gathering. And I wish everyone a day full of communion and connection with the divine through the recognition that we need the divine. We're designed. Think of it, fish need water, human beings need God. Fish don't do so well out of water. Human beings don't do so well out of God. We can't really be out of God, but we can't be disconnected from God. Very grateful to all of you for coming. Wish you a beautiful morning, afternoon,